Are you ready?
Yeah, let's have a meeting.
Okay, want me to get started?
I'll kick it off and then I'll throw it
Okay.
to you so we can cover some housekeeping things. Good afternoon. Jeremy Wilmoth, Finance Director. This is the meeting of the Sales Tax Audit Committee. Before we get started, we just want to remind everybody that we are in a hybrid format, which means that there may be people in the audience or there may be people watching online. And so before you say anything, if you could just announce who you are for the record so that we have that. Just simply saying your name and then whatever comment you would like to make will suffice. I believe those are all the comments that I have, so I will throw it over to our Vice Chair, Amber.
Good afternoon. My name is Amber Nickel. I'm the Vice Chair of the Sales Tax Audit Committee. And it looks like we just have a few agenda items. And so first, do approve the minutes from the last meeting. Is that accurate?
Unless anyone has any questions about the minutes, I believe a motion would be in order.
I'm sorry, I could not hear that.
Tim made a motion to approve the minutes.
Great. Can I get,
Jeremy, you can crank up the TV volume if you like, the TV volume.
TV? Okay. Sorry, I'm still new to this.
I don't know, but this portrait mode that I'm in over there is nice and flattering. All right, so we have a motion to approve minutes. Can we get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Looks
That
like,
is 3 in favor, no voting against. The motion passes.
whoop, whoop. Okay. I need to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. All right, so our first agenda item, is to review the annual report for 2020.
Yes, give me just 1 second here to share my screen. Tim, can you see that? Very good. Jeremy Wilmoth, Finance Director. I want to cover the 2020 annual report for the Sales Tax Audit Committee. We start out the annual report looking at the 0.3% sales tax for streets and infrastructure. Just a little blurb that we put at the top to help the public. The sales tax was initially approved in 2008. It was renewed in 2019. And the sales tax plan is adopted and approved by the City Commission every year as a part of the 5-year capital improvement plan process. The budget for sales tax in 2020 was $5,628,000. I'm sure this won't come as a shock to anyone on the committee, but due to COVID, the actual collections was $5,473,000, so quite a bit under what we had originally anticipated. And we have the list of projects that were funded by the sales tax. And I'd be happy to go over any of those projects if anybody would like to in further detail. But these projects were all approved by the City Commission. They've all been vetted to ensure that they comply with the ballot language of the sales tax. And unless there's any questions on this, I'll move on to the next tax.
No questions.
Okay. Hearing none, the next tax is the 0.2% tax for public transportation. Again, this tax started in 2008. It was renewed in 2019. The budget in 2020 was $4,482,000. Actual collections were $3,649,000. And we split this out by 2 costs. The staff cost, which was a little under $155,000, and the transit operation cost of $3.2 million. And there's further breakdown in the back of the report for anybody who'd like to look at that in further detail. Are there any questions about the transit? The next, there was no activity in 2020 on the 0.05% sales tax that was used for expanded transit. That money's been earmarked for the intermodal facility. That tax, again, started in 2018, but sunsetted, started in 2008, but sunsetted in 2018. So these funds have been sitting, waiting for the project, which is underway. I'm sure you all have heard. We've got a pretty robust public participation campaign going right now. And we're starting to see, or you'll see in the second quarter report, that we're starting to see some expenditures now tied to this project as we are in the design phase of the intermodal facility. But as of the December 31st, 2020, the money that had been collected through the end of 2018 had not yet been spent. So there's nothing to report on that. And then the last tax is the public housing tax that began when the expanded transit tax sunsetted. So it began in April of 2019. The 2020 budget was $942,000. Actual collections were $912,000. And this tax was spent $800,000 on housing projects that were approved by the City Commission. And so we've added this detail that you all are familiar with on the quarterly reports. We've added that for the annual report, just to provide a little bit more detail and context for the public as to how those projects were spent. So the first page would be the infrastructure sales tax. The second page is a little bit more detail on the transit sales tax. And then the last page shows that the two projects that were funded in 2020 were the Bethel Estates and the Penn Street Lofts. And you can see on the report that the Bethel Estate project, the first payment was $250,000 to support 42 rental units, and the Penn Street Loft is 47 rental units. So those are all the comments that I have on the annual report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone from the commission would have.
I'm just curious, where are those Bethel, where is that? The Bethel housing?
Jeremy Wilmoth, Finance Director, that is a very valid and rational question that I do not have an answer to. Do you have one? I should have looked that up. So.
Casey Toomey, I believe they're out around 23rd and O'Connell. I think
Yes.
over in that kind of southeast quadrant of the city. That's my recollection, but I can look it up too.
I believe you're correct.
Amber Nickel, Vice Chair, one more question. I'm just out of curiosity, on those Penn Street lofts, so that's affordable housing, but it's open to anybody to, or, I mean, obviously based on income probably, but is that how that works? Do you know?
Jeremy Wilmoth, Finance Director. So there's more properties that are being built than just the 47. The funding from the sales tax is providing the ability for those with income challenges to be able to buy them as well. So it's, I want to call it mixed use, but essentially it's not just affordable housing, but there is a affordable housing component, and that's what the tax is supporting.
Great, thanks.
If there are no further questions, the annual report does require that you all approve it so that we can send it to the City Commission for their consideration as well.
Okay,
So moved.
seconded. And then I guess, what, am I the one that's supposed to say? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
So the motion was 3 in support, 0 against, so the motion does pass.
Okay, so the second agenda item is to review second quarter 2021 results.
Give me just a second here. Tim, did that pop up? Very good. Sometimes it freezes when you're sharing, so I want to make sure that we're all looking at the same information. Jeremy Wilmoth, Finance Director. This is the second quarter report for fiscal year 2021. The 2021 budget for the sales tax on streets and infrastructure is $5,347,000. Through the first 6 months, we've collected $2,936,000. And you can see that there is a handful of projects. Those that are above the prior year tax are the ones that were a part of the 2021 budget. Those below the prior year tax would have been a part of 2020 or prior. And so you can see the majority of the work that's occurred in the first 6 months is pretty much finishing projects that had started in the prior year. But we do have a handful of projects that have are in the design phase. So year to date, we have spent just over 1.2 million, and the amount of tax that's available for future projects at the end of June is 2.267 million. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Yeah, Larry Chance, just out of curiosity, what's a green pavement intersection crossing?
The green pavement project was one that was designed to be pedestrian and bike friendly. And I know there's one on Mass Street, Mass and
It's like 14th?
14th. I was
So just some different markings.
Yeah. 14th and-
So it's a way to make sure that pedestrians, motorists, and people on bicycles can
Yep.
all use the intersection
Yeah.
safely.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, I'll move on to the next sales tax, and if any other questions come up, feel free to ask those at your leisure. The next sales tax is for public transportation. This sales tax was budgeted to bring in $4,258,000. Year to date, we've collected $1,957,000, and we've split this out a little bit more detail than we have in the annual report. But the staff costs year to date are just over $50,000. The transit operation costs are $928,000, and shelter amenities, these are the all the different various bus stops throughout town. We have spent just over $75,000 maintaining those. And so year-to-date expenditures are $1,053,000, leaving unspent tax available for operation of the bus system at $3,889,000. Moving down to the 0.05% expanded tax that sunsetted in March of 2019. As you can see, we do have expenditures now for the multimodal facility. These are design and public engagement expenditures of just over $114,000. So there's still $7.8 million available for that project. And the public housing sales tax that started in April of 2019, the budget for 2020 was $878,000. Year to date, we've collected about $50,000, and we've spent a little over $100,000.
Okay,
Right
hold
at
on.
100,000, sorry.
This is Amber Nickel, Vice Chair. I'm curious about that. So that one seems, just doing my quick math on those things, that everything's,
Yeah,
that one's way
I have
off.
to go back and look at this. I have a feeling that a digit was
It's a
slipped.
zero.
So it probably should be 492,000, but I'll verify that.
Okay.
Halfway through the year.
Yeah. So much like we had on the annual report, there's further detail on the expenditures by project, by vendor, and what the type of work was for all the projects. The first page being the infrastructure sales tax. The second page being the transit. So we go into more detail into what the various costs are for the shelter amenities, the transportation, operation cost, and then the public housing. We've spent $50,000 with Independence Inc. for accessible housing programs and $50,000 with the Lawrence Community Shelter for a rapid rehousing program.
Okay, do we need to vote to approve this?
All the comments I have. I think we'll hold off on that vote until I verify
Oh, right,
that,
that,
the sales tax number. So if there's no other questions, I will move on to the last item, which is the budget. So the first budget we'll look at is the public transportation sales tax, which is a 0.2% sales tax. The projected sales tax for the fiscal year 2022 is $4,168,000. The prior year surplus is estimated to be $10,964,000. And then you see how we have the budget allocated between the various sectors that we're tracking, leaving an available balance at the end of the year in the budget of just over 1.1 million.
because that's when we're going, the San Bernardino Vice Chair, we'll see that, the big expense of the facility.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see the amount of sales tax that's set aside for the multimodal facility being the balance of the 0.05 tax, as well as a little bit of the transit tax to build out what is the projected budget right now for that project.
Great.
The other thing I would say about the budget, the city was awarded a grant for electric buses in 2020, or excuse me, in 2021, and we've applied for that same grant for 2022. So we're programming into the budget 1.9 million for transit buses, but our hope is that we'll achieve another grant, and then we'll only pay for the grant match rather than the full amount for the buses. So in that event, then the unspent money would just stay in the transit sales tax for other operation uses.
Okay.
Moving down to the next sales tax, the infrastructure sales tax. Our projected sales tax is $5,405,000. The prior year surplus is projected to be $534,000. And the recommended projects that you see before you are the ones that are in the current recommended capital improvement plan that the City Commission is considering. So most of these are annual projects that we continue to fund for sidewalk, bike, and pedestrian improvements, sidewalk hazard repair. The ADA is for the Americans with Disabilities Act, so any improvements to essentially sidewalk to street intersections where we want to make sure that the ramps are within the guidelines of the Americans for Disabilities Act. And the street maintenance program is one that we've been funding with the sales tax for many years to help bolster street maintenance all around town. And then the last one, we're projecting the affordable housing sales tax to be $937,000. The prior surplus is projected to be $834,000. And so that gives us about 1.7 million, of which 1.3 has been earmarked for housing projects to leave just a little bit of money for a reserve account. I believe those are all the comments that I have on the budget, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
All right, do we need to approve that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the city manager's recommended 2022 budget?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes with 3 voting in favor and none voting against.
Okay, is there any other business that we need to address?
Will we move for that vote on the other one to next meeting? Sorry. I know you had to check on the math there. Does that vote just go to the next meeting?
Jeremy Wilmoth, Finance Director. Yes, we'll have that, the approval of that on the next agenda, which is slated for October 20th, 2021.
Thank you.
October 20th. Okay, well, seeing no public comment and no further action, do we just need a motion to adjourn?
One more motion.
I will motion to adjourn.
All right, we'll do a motion in a second. We got them. All those in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.